Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Spark. I'm Coach David. Hope you're doing fantastic on today. Hope that your life is moving in the direction that you want it to move, that you are up and at it and getting after it, improving your life each and every day. Because remember, you are the architect of your life. You get to design it, build it, and you're going to live it. So that's a great thing about this is that you can design, build, and live the life that you want. I hope and encourage you to do that and not to shy away from it, because the truth of the matter is this right here. It is your life. You might as well make it what you want to make it. Stop sitting around and thinking and believing that something else is driving your life or making your life a certain way. Your life is on you, and it is what you make it. So I'm super excited that you're here with me on today. And today I'm going to continue to talk about a growth mindset. But today I got something great for you. I'm going to talk about change is key to improvement. Okay. Change is key to improvement. I once heard a gentleman say that change is not change until you change. And we can talk about change. We can go around and, say, hey, this is better when we change and all that. But until we make the decision to change, change does not occur. So with that being said, set this right here. With that being said, let's move forward into this and talk about what we're going to get into on today. So we're going to talk about what change is. We're going to talk about how changing your mind can be done in order to move to that growth mindset. And I'm going to give you some practical steps that I believe will help you on that. Now, when we talk about change, we're saying we're going to make something different. We're making it different when we go into change. And that's a great thing, because here's the truth of the matter. A lot of times we resist change. And the reason we resist change is because it deals with us as individuals. And we don't necessarily want to change. I've heard people say, the way I am is the way I am, and I'm not going to change. That's your choice. You can make that decision. I don't recommend that, especially if it's not beneficial to your creativity, to your growing, to your being better. I would recommend that you make change. Why? Because change leads to improvement. I said it. Change is the key to improvement. What do I mean by that? Well, when we improve something, we make it better. We develop it. We cause it to increase. We cause it to achieve or produce something better than. That's improvement. And so when we're doing that, what we're looking at making a change in order that we would increase, that we would grow, that we would be better, that we would produce something much better. So that is the reason why you should decide, when we start talking about a growth mindset, that change is key to your improvement. So now, if you don't believe you can become better, that you can develop, that you can increase, that you can achieve, you will not put forth the effort to do so. And that's what happens a lot of time with a fixed mindset. We don't want to change because we think this is as good as it's going to get. Well, I got news for you. Excuse me. This is not as good as it's going to get. It can get better, but you have to believe that. Now, Coach David can believe that all he wants. Coach David can know it all he wants. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't make that decision to, that, hey, I'm going to change, I'm going to make a change, then nothing's going to occur. And a lot of times what we're doing when we're changing, we're proving our own selves wrong. So we kind of resist that a little bit. But I hope on today that I'll give you something that will inspire you to say, hey, you know what? No matter what, my change is going to lead to my improvement. It's key to my improvement. So I'm going to do it. What you believe can be changed will be changed. And here's how you change yourself. You change by changing your mind. Your mind can become stronger or weaker or simply different according to what you feed it, what you give it. So when you give your mind something different, you're changing your mind. Changing your mind is growth. And that's where we get the term growth mindset from. I look at the current situation and I say, hey, this is not as good as it gets. That things can be better. I can improve. I can get better. So I'm going to feed my mind that stimulus that it needs in order to change. And when I change, I'm going to see improvement. Now, one of the questions anyway, that we've got to answer is, why do we find change so difficult? So I'm going to use my own personal story to kind of help you with that. And my story is going to involve vegetables. Okay. Like, I remember when I was growing up, okay, okra. I remember the first time I ever saw okra, I adapted a mindset about okra that I'm not eating that because it was slimy looking and furry looking and like, I'm not eating that. So I had adopted this mindset automatically that this is not a good thing. At least it's not a good thing for me. Now, people in my family, they eat okra. They love okra. They love okra boiled. They love okra fried. You name it, they like okra. For David, that was not the case. So I remember that was my mindset, and I was set in that mindset that this little green thing called okra, and consequently, I felt the same way about squash. But this little green thing, this little green slimy thing called okra was not good for me. So I had adapted that mindset. But here's the thing about it. I remember one day my mom got me to actually eat the okra. Now, that was a long-term thing. And what my mom was doing, she was saying, how do you know you don't like something if you have not tried it? And that was always her thing. Give it a try. And so, no, I don't want to eat that slimy looking stuff. And so anyway, what eventually happened was I actually ate some okra. Now, my mom used to fry it. And when she fried, oh my God, and she would fry it, she fried the okra, she cut it up, she fried it. And I was like, wow, I finally ate some okra. And I determined, hey, I've been wrong about this stuff all along. Now, that was a hard pill to swallow because I had to admit that I was wrong. Or at a minimum, I had some incomplete thinking going on. And to admit that and say this stuff is really good can become uncomfortable. So a lot of times that's what's going on with us. When we begin to change, when we see something different, when we begin to look at something different, it becomes uncomfortable to us because we have to admit that we've been operating on the wrong information, or we've just been flat out wrong. But what we got to do, we got to kind of turn that around. We got to change our way of thinking in order to grow. Because if you stay there and you continually think like, hey, I don't want to be wrong. There it is. I don't want to be wrong. So I'm not going to go out and try to change something different or do something different because I don't want to be labeled as being wrong, because that's very uncomfortable for me to have gone through all of these years looking at okra and thinking one way about okra and then finally eating it and knowing just how much I enjoy it. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. I still think it's slimy. But boy, I sure do enjoy that slimy stuff. And so that's the point that I'm making to you, is that, look, sometimes you have got to change your mind. Now, what we look at, hey, when I admit that I'm wrong, that could make me a failure. No, that doesn't make you a failure. I want you to think about it this way. You're just growing, you're just developing, and now you're out there and you're looking at something different and saying, hey, this is an opportunity for me to grow. So that's what I want. Think about it from this standpoint. You don't get upset with your feet when they grow and you got to change your shoe size. You got to like, hey, I've been wearing a 7, a 7, a 7, a 7. And then all of a sudden now I got to wear 7.5. We didn't get upset about that. No, we just went and got a 7.5 shoe and said, hey, this is the way it is. This is called growth. My body is growing. It is changing. And so I have to accommodate that with a new shoe size. That's the way the growth mindset is. The growth mindset says, hey, I'm growing, I'm developing, I'm learning something new, and the information that I had before no longer fits this situation, and I've developed and I've grown. I don't get upset about that. What I do, I enjoy that. I'm not betraying myself by saying, hey, all of this. No. I am saying that now I am growing. And because I am growing, now I adapt a new mindset, a new way of seeing things, a new way of thinking. And so when people bring you stuff, please hear this. When people bring you stuff that's contrary to your popular opinion, what you have to do, you have to at least be willing to look at it and to think about it. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you a couple of practical steps, and then I'm going to let you go for today. These steps are going to help you be able to see things differently. And that's really what you got to do. You got to challenge yourself a little bit, and you got to see some things differently in order that you can be different. So let's get on. Okay, so practical steps. Number one, use being wrong as a sign of growth. I was just talking about that. A lot of times what we do when we discover that we've had the wrong opinion or the wrong idea or even the wrong information. I had some wrong information about okra. I thought because okra was slimy that it had to be nasty. And so I just had wrong information. Yes, it's still slimy. The okra today is still just as slimy as it was back when I was a kid eating it. But guess what? The flavor is different. Why? Because I gave it a try. I now admit that I was wrong about the taste based on the look. And that's okay. You know what? Because now I learned not to judge a book by its cover, which means this right here. I learned something new and now I am growing. So quit looking at like learning something new or admitting that you're wrong as a failure. That's not a failure. You are growing. You are developing. That's what's supposed to be happening. And now that helps my mindset because watch this right here. Now I kind of look at a lot of different vegetables. Now I'm going to be the first to tell you I'm still a picky eater. I really am. I'm a picky eater. I know I am, but I have to at least open up my mindset enough to say, okay, I'll give it a shot. Now I've given some things a shot and they're not going in my mouth again. I'm telling you that right now. I gave them a shot and they're not going in my mouth again. There's another part of me. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's another part of me that looks at it and my mind has a hard time accepting that the way this looks is good. That's just me. But what I have to do, I have to understand that I could be wrong about this and that maybe that I need to do this as a sign of growth. I'll give you another one that a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't understand it. Snails. Eating snails. Now, you see this thing crawling around on the ground and everything, but my growth mindset, says, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Man, I ate some snails smothered in butter and garlic sauce. Oh my God, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. But the point of the matter is that use being wrong as a sign of growth. That's all it is. Admitting I was wrong did not make me a failure. I was wrong and I learned something new. That's called growth. And that is the growth mindset. Here's the second thing that I want to give you. Be curious. What do you mean? Just be curious. When you're facing a different opinion, you got to ask yourself sometimes, what can I learn from this? See, there's a difference from being certain and being curious. I'm just certain this is just the way it is. And that's just the way it is. Listen, being certain, I could be limiting my growth. I could be limiting my creativity. I could be limiting my learning. I don't want to limit that because why? I might be missing out on something because of my current mindset being fixed in this direction. So what I got to learn to do is this right here. I got to say, okay, let me hear this. What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Could I develop from this? And so when you do that, just be curious and not so certain. A lot of people just certain no matter what. I was that way about okra. I was certain that it was slimy. I was certain that it was nasty. Now, listen, my certainty about being slimy was on point. But my certainty about because it was slimy being nasty was off. And I changed. I grew. I learned. So be curious. That's number two. Here's number three. Start small. You got to give yourself a little grace here. What do you mean? Well, just like I started with this okra and squash thing. That was a small thing to change. Just food, okay? It was a very small thing to change. Now, changing something that I've thought a certain way about for 15, 20 years, that could be something totally different, because it could be overwhelming for me to admit that, hey, you've just been wrong all along. So the thing that I want to encourage you with, the thing that I want to challenge you with, is go back and revisit the things that you've just written off as being a certain way, become a little bit more curious about it, learn from it, and then you are now growing. So I want to encourage you. Changing your mind can be overwhelming. Start slowly, start small, and then develop from there. So with that being said, remember this right here. Change is key to improvement. And if you want to improve, you're going to have to change. And the way you change is by changing what you're feeding your mind. When you change what you feed your mind discovers something new, and that's called a growth mindset. All right. Well, thank you for being here with me on today. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you get something out of it that you can pull into your life, and that it's going to make your life tremendously better. Listen, share this with someone. Do that for me. Go ahead and share this, because, change is the key to improvement. And a lot of people need to know that, because they're trying to improve their life in many different areas. And so they got to understand that they've got to change. Change is not change until you have changed. All right, I'm Coach David. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you on the next time. But remember this right here. Remember this. You are the architect of your life. I'm Coach David. I believe in you. I will see you next time. Bye.